Do you think that it's moral to donate an organ or donate blood?
How can that be immoral?
I mean, does anyone in here have any reason why it would be immoral to donate an organ or blood?
Do people think that donating blood or donating stem cells is moral?
Yes.
So why do you think that's moral?
Because you're helping prolong someone's life. Like, even if it is a bad person, you are stopping them from suffering.
So is prolonging someone's life good though? Why is that a moral thing?
Because you're stopping, if someone is suffering, if someone needs, an organ transfer, or if someone needs stem cells, if they are suffering, they can't end their life. They're either going to be suffering, like there is no, or healthy because you've given them, a transplant. So if the only right thing to do is help them.
It could give them another year to live, and why would you do that to them?
Do you just want another year of suffering?
No.
Exactly.
So I'm saying it's not moral.
Yeah, but they're not going to be suffering.
Yeah, but that's up to you. If you know that you're just going to be suffering for the rest of your life,
then you can reject it.
Then it's your choice.
I mean, I think it depends upon the case as well. I mean, sometimes donating blood is going to result in, it's going to just result in someone not suffering anymore, but it won't necessarily have an impact on their life. But sometimes it's just going to save their life or prolong it when they may have a disability that comes along with the blood.
But then that links into the whole idea of euthanasia. If they want to live, then I believe it's moral. But if they don't want to live, or if they're going to live a painful life, even with an organ or blood transfusion, then I believe that it's immoral to give them the organ donation because it's against their wish.
I think that the actual act of donating blood or donating stem cells is moral. But then it's completely up to whoever wants the blood or doesn't want the blood.
Yeah, but it's the natural human inclination to want to live. Whether that's actually in your best interest is another.
Yeah, but your best interest is your own issue.
No, but that's what makes it moral or not. If it would cause suffering, just prolonged suffering,
For a lot of people it wouldn't.
Then
a lot
surely
of people it would
be
help them.
Right.
It would make their life more comfortable.
Or it could just give them another year which they don't need, which they would be better off without.
But if they want
then
that
that's
year,
their
you can
choice.
decide that they're better off without that year.
That doesn't mean that
It's moral to give people the choice. If
Why
you know
is that
whether
moral?
they want to live or not.
Because it's their life.
Why does choice have an impact on what's moral?
because not giving someone the choice to their own life and when to end their own life is immoral.
So, okay, so let say you have two scenarios. In both scenarios, the outcome is exactly the same. Like, there's the same amount of well-being. There's someone who's experiencing the same amount of pain and the same amount of pleasure in both scenarios. But in the first scenario, the person chose the event that gave them that outcome. In the second scenario, they didn't choose.
The first one's more moral because they've made that choice themselves. They've been given the choice to make their own decision about their own life course. It's immoral for someone to dictate what someone else should decide.
So do you think choice is inherently bad?
I think choice is good. I think.
Do you think choice is inherently good?
Yes.
So is there really any justification to say that or to say the opposite?
I think it's important to have choice in your life, because otherwise we wouldn't. Everything we do would
No
be
control.
under it. Yeah, we'd have no control.
I mean, that's like a practical thing. Like that's relating why choice is good for well-being, though. But is choice inherently good? I mean, that's the
I
question.
don't think it's inherently good.
Yeah, but choice is a freedom,
Mhm.
and freedom is a basic human right.
So is freedom inherently good?
Yeah.
Why?
Because if you're not free, then you can't do anything, and you're under someone else's control. And who says that what they're doing is good?
Who says you're free now?
We're not. You can't ever be completely free.
No. But the more freedom you have,
The better.
yeah.
So why? I mean, I think you can keep just asking why, and I think, I suppose we can direct the conversation to what moral framework is true. Is there a moral framework that's true? Like, is the truth about morality what benefits the most people, or is it what gives people the most freedom, or is it what God wants? Does anyone think that one of these is just objectively true? Can you justify why freedom is good?
Poppy?
Well, I mean, you can justify why freedom is good, because freedom means choice, and having control over the choices that you make in the life that you've been given, I believe is
But then
predominantly
why
good
is that good? You can keep asking why is that
You can
good?
always keep asking why, but to be able to make your own choices, that can provide you with your own control. And I think it's moral to give somebody the choice, for example, whether to end their own life or not, whether to accept an organ or not.
Okay. I think it's a good time to start discussing what we mean by morality. So, a definition that Cosmic Skeptic gives that I think is quite similar to just the common definition you would find on Google is it is basically the doctrine of doing what is good and avoiding what is bad.
Doesn't that definition hinge on the concept of morality? So good and bad are both concepts governed by your definition of morality. It's an unspoken definition within that definition. It's not a real definition, it relies on another definition.
I would say that's why it's subjective, because good and bad, I don't think good and bad are actually really definable. I mean, they're basically just intuitive concepts that we understand, but you can't define
That's a whole
it
other
based
debate
around
whether they're
things.
intuitive. I'd argue they're not particularly intuitive.
Well, I mean, some things feel good and other things feel bad.
Okay, but
Yeah, but for some people, things that would feel good
Yeah,
to
for
you
example-
feel bad.
for example, killing someone. So in many circumstances, in a natural setting, humans may be required to kill another human for survival. Now, we dictate that killing another human is bad. I mean, it is a bad thing to do. But in some circumstances, it's a good thing to do. And it sometimes feels good to some humans.
Right, but
Some humans take pleasure out of it. Now, if they take pleasure out of it and they find it an instinctive thing that they should do through natural instinct, doesn't that mean that it is not bad by your definition?
I haven't. In that definition, doing what is good and avoiding what is bad, it doesn't actually claim anything to do with pain and pleasure. I mean,
But when you say
that there's the
innate
extra
human
question.
feelings, that's what you mean. That's the kind of dichotomy you're going for.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one example of a framework, is basing it around the human desire to seek pleasure and avoid pain.
I thought his definition was doing what you ought. I feel like you ought to do.
Yeah, that's part of his definition.
But doing what you ought to do, once again, is a social thing.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah,
That's
ought to
that's
do.
what he's saying.
Yeah, but what he's saying, there's no real definition. It's a mix between kind of social and natural causes. Like you can't narrow it down to either. So we're not really getting anywhere just by discussing what is morality.
No, but I think if we look at who here thinks morality is objective and who thinks it's subjective and not.
Should we actually?
What are the differences?
So I suppose objective. How do you define objective?
It's
Saying things is inherently right or
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, true without having,
There is no
without needing
interpretation.
emotion.
No,
It's like saying murder is inherently
It's
wrong.
positive. It's not normative. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. Murder is different.
And subjective is the opposite.
Yeah,
Subjective
all
is
interpret
relative.
it
based
differently.
on. It's not
I think
necessarily relative,
I think
but based
a
on
better
emotion.
question is not if it's subjective or objective, is whether it is relative or not. Whether morality is relative. Is morality universal to all humans, or is it relative to our conditions?
If it was relative to our conditions, then that would just make it subjective.
It's obviously relative depending on the person. Different people would have different ideas of morality.
But then that's subjective, yeah.
Exactly.
So does anyone here think it's objective?
Morality.
Yeah.
I think certain elements of that are. I think what people are saying about murder being inherently wrong, I think it is because the definition of murder is seen as different to the definition of killing, and killing can sometimes be justified, although it's not. It's very, very rare.
But our justifications of murder have come about out of social construct. I mean, at the end of the day, we are animals, and every other species kills, and it's completely normal to kill. So
when have you ever seen a deer kill anything?
Have you ever heard of prey?
It isn't to murder.
Yeah, but
it's not necessarily the same as to kill,
but
because murdering is it's very rare that someone will murder someone for murdering for a reason.
But isn't the consequence of murdering?
But what would you consider a reason? Because some states kill, like in America, you have capital punishment, self-defense. But then other types of murder aren't allowed, and the line of self-defense is very. The line of self-defense is very there's one way or the other. Some people are allowed to get away with it, and others aren't. So
that depends on it's nothing. That's not necessarily to do with morality. That's to do with lawfulness.
Yeah, but also we seem to put a lot of importance on our species over others, and to say that murdering a human is wrong but an animal is fine. I don't know where you would draw that line as to whether murder is inherent.
Killing an animal is usually it's very rare that an animal hunting is like a very different story, but killing a cow, for example, to use for beef, leather, that's very different to just killing a person.
It's death for no particular reason, and death for no particular reason is murder.
Well, it's not necessarily for no particular reason, is it?
Okay, so if it's our reason.
It's our reason, it's for our benefit. Like, I'm playing devil's advocate here, but how is it moral to kill an animal, even though for something that isn't essential to your survival? You can live without it.
It's nature's reason, though. We kill animals to eat. We eat for nutrition. Beef provides nutritional value. That's how the food chain works. That's what they do in the animal kingdom.
Yeah, see, there's a very big difference between killing a cow for meat and killing a person because they're in a rival gang, for example.
So would it be moral if you were killing a person for meat?
That's a whole other story.
Well, if you
for your own survival. If you're killing it for survival.
If you're on a lifeboat, that's one of the analogies.
But I mean, people have the natural urge to kill sometimes.
I don't really have the
I think this is basically showing that it's not objective, because it's showing that under different circumstances it can be considered wrong or it can't be considered wrong. But even yourself, you're not saying that it's objectively wrong.
You need rules, and you need everything to be objective. But then, in certain situations, it can be subjective.
But even in a society, it's not objective, because it's like murder is wrong, and then you have all of these things like, except for self-defense, except for if that person's killed someone else, and then we can kill them.
Yeah, I mean, also the fact that it's not absolute doesn't equate to it not being objective. It could be the case that murder is is objectively right in certain situations, but objectively wrong in others, even though it's not absolute.
I mean, it depends if what you're considering is murder wrong because of the action or because of the consequence? Is murder wrong because you're taking a human life, or is murder wrong because it is inherently wrong to kill anything? Or is it bad because you're killing something, or is it bad because there is one less human life?
I think it's human life.
Because if it's bad because you're killing someone because you shouldn't kill, that's objective morality. But if you don't kill someone because that's a detriment to the human race, that's subjective morality. You're doing it for a consequence. You're trying to prevent the consequence, which means you're not doing it because it's some enshrined code or some religious thing. You're doing it because it's net positive for the human race.
Slightly off topic, but we as a society seem to think of death as this inherently bad thing, and I really don't think it is. I think that
that's because we don't know what happens after.
That's because people have a real problem facing death.
I think it's only because of I think the only bad thing that would come from it is the consequences, not the actual death itself. So,
I mean, say you had an example where someone was living a life where they were suffering and they were sleeping. Would it be immoral then to kill them in their sleep if they were suffering? They lived an unhappy life.
If they
But
think
you're
consent
choosing
is-
that.
I
Unless they
think
actually
you need
say,
to choose.
Sammy, I want you to put a pillow over my head and, kill me.
Even if
That
they
links
do,
the whole idea of
even if they
choice
do,
again.
But also,
But
Does
you
I
anyone have the
understand
right to kill someone else, even if they consent?
I
God
understand,
would say no.
I understand that death may not be but we shouldn't be.
Why does it inherently matter?
That's my motto.
I understand that we shouldn't be scared of death as in the actual idea of not being alive anymore, but the actual act of death, if you get, like, for example, run over by a car, that could be incredibly painful.
Because it's also
So
premature
that's
and
why
painful
people are
death.
scared of
Yeah.
certain types of death.
Yeah, and
but I
of
think
course
most
it impacts
people,
the
when they
family.
think of death, they would prefer to simply die in their sleep because it is such a calm
The
way to
avoidance
die.
of
Well,
death is like
assuming it is completely painless to die in your sleep, would it then be moral? What would
Unless
be
that
wrong with
person's
that?
asked.
I mean, what's wrong with it
It's
is
like
that
euthanasia.
you're making the choice for someone else. In your
Why
in your
does that matter?
hypothetical,
Because it
they're
does.
not making the choice to die.
But if
But
your
why is
choice,
that important?
You-
if your
you
choice
are.
benefits them,
Unless they
Because
say
if you're
to
viewing everyone as an individual with an equal right to live, then you, one individual, are
so
taking
who's
another
to say
person's
anyone
right.
has a right to live?
I'm not, but I'm saying that. I would say everyone has a right to live. I'd say that that's a very fundamental human right.
I mean, you can
Can I-
say lawfully it's good to give everyone.
No,
a
not
right,
lawfully.
but
It's good. As in our society, and we cannot function unless we admit that everyone has the right to live.
Can I make a point?
Isn't that a basic fundamental for human society?
Yeah, go on, Josh.
Alright, so the instinct of preserving yourself from death and pain is built into your genetics, and it is in most, if not all, animals. And well, that means that you will just avoid death at all costs. However, you might also seek death to avoid pain. So it might not always be immoral to want death, but like to.
But
for
as long as you-
people
No,
to
that's
be
not my
pain.
point. My point is it's always immoral to take someone else's life without consent.
Yeah, without consent.
why then?
Because I'd
I
say
agree.
because I strongly believe that everyone as an individual has the right to live.
I mean, I think what you were saying earlier, I think it's good that we can agree as a society that we should have a right to live, but that doesn't mean we have an inherent right.
Yeah, I mean, when we keep coming back to this phrase "inherent right."
Yeah.
I mean, when you're saying inherent right, that's on an assumed basis of divine kind of. It's a relic from our religious past. Is that
I don't think it's
inherent implies that there is some sort of thing which is constant within all humans. Would you agree? Like it's constant, it's normal, and you get it, and it's not socialised into you.
yeah.
I don't think there's really any norms which are, by that definition, inherent.
Yeah, so when it comes to rights, it's not inherent, so surely that would mean that sometimes you can not abide by rights.
I think that's a very dangerous precedent, because as soon as you subdue one right, who's to say any right is sacred? I mean, if you subdue freedom of speech, who's to say that freedom of information? Oh, and that's not a real human right.
Right, I mean-
but for freedom to live,
There's obviously a slippery slope there.
Yeah, massively so.
If we're thinking on, if we're not considering the wider societal implications of killing someone and breaking that right,
I know.
and we think about
that's a different question.
just the individual situation itself, then is it possible for it to be moral to kill someone?
Yes.
No.
Why not?
Well, I mean, unless that person's like someone like Adolf Hitler.
What if you're preventing further human loss of life? I
Well,
mean,
then that's
it's-
kind of in like a war setting.
No,
That's
it's the same. It's the trolley question. It's the same thing. Like,
Yeah,
do
but
you
you have
know
no
what I'm saying when I
idea
reference the
if
trolley
you're-
question?
You don't know what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, no, but do you,
Yeah, but if
do,
you
do you
can
know what I'm talking about when I say the
immediately
trolley
see-
question?
Well, then that's moral then because it's
Yeah.
The
war.
trolley problem. It's an analogy where you have one person on one track and 5 people on another track, and you choose which track the train goes.
But you're still killing someone. You're always going to kill somebody.
It's going towards the.
I don't think that's
five
as
people.
relevant
No,
because
listen,
And you can either make the active choice to switch to the track with the one person, and you could say kill them, or you can just let it go and let the train
Kill 5 people,
the
but you're
5
not
people.
responsible. You're not responsible for the deaths of 5 people. But if you choose to save those lives,
You are responsible.
like no,
Yeah, but you're not actively.
you're not actively responsible. You didn't kill them. If you change the tracks, you killed that one man.
You're, like,
You
passive-
did kill
you're
them
still
because
passively
you can
responsible, though.
completely prevent it.
Well,
I
so
don't
you'd
think
say-
you killed
so
them,
you'd
but
say
you're responsible for their
you have the net responsibilities for an extra 4 lives. Would you say? But
Yeah.
then you're equaling all human life to be equal. You're saying that it is constant. And is it better to kill one person than to kill 5 people, in your opinion?
Yes.
So you'd make the active choice to kill a person rather than let a train kill 5 people?
Yeah.
Tal, what do you want to say?
I wanted to say, based on what Alice said about like if you were killing Adolf Hitler, and I know this is going to sound really stupid, but people have their own like personal Adolf Hitlers, people that they want to die, and that, you know, people who they view as the worst person in the world, and that doesn't mean it's acceptable to kill them. Or there have been monsters like Joseph Fritzl, or like, you know, you've got like other people like Stalin or Mussolini, or, you know, Osama bin Laden. You have all of these people. Or me. No, but all of these people. It's not up to you to decide who's deserving of death, because then you're playing God. You know, it's not fair.
But also, if we do agree that morality isn't objective, then I don't think you could say it's okay if they're as bad as Hitler.
Well, because if someone would say, if you kill Hitler, you're preventing the loss of millions of lives.
That's
in the idea of like it's in a different setting. It's like a battle. It's a war setting. It's politics. It's not just going up to someone on the street and killing them. There's a big difference.
I just want to see. Would anyone not pull the lever and leave the train to kill 5 people instead of killing the 1 person? Would anyone here not pull the lever?
I don't know what I'm doing.
Would you leave?
No, I'm just saying. In your mind, what do you think is the right thing to do? What do you think you should do? I mean, what do you think you would do in that situation? What do you think?
I think there's a big difference between should and would, and at the end of the day, I probably wouldn't do anything, because to actually have the strength to pull that,
I wouldn't.
It's crazy.
I think I wouldn't.
I think it's more of a
No,
plus.
but like you're gonna watch that
the emotions.
I don't think I'd be questioning my morality. I'd be questioning.
Okay,
Yeah, but then you move on to the second part.
Yeah, no. Those of which said yes, I would pull the lever. Who said that? Could you raise your hands just for me? Okay, there are just for our listeners, there are 4 people who've just put their hands on. Now, you 4.
You do realise we're probably going to be the only listeners.
Yeah,
And how's Dad?
I'm fine with that. No, as the 4 people who are in there, would you then take it a step further? So you see, same train track. You see that there are 5 people on this train track, and a train is coming. However, you have the opportunity to push a man in front of that train, and it will stop the train.
That's
But that
not
man will
half
die.
the problem.
What?
There are different variations, but this is the
Okay.
next one.
This is
I've never heard that
one
one.
right here. This is another variation.
This is.
You have to actively push the man, look at him, and you push him.
Yeah, but then there's also like the waiting room one. Like, would you?
What if that man
But
was
I
just
think there is a
Would you
difference
take out all his
here.
organs to give it to save other lives? It's the same thing, but it's.
I mean, I think there's a difference here, though. Partly in the societal implication of if we kind of have the attitude of sacrificing someone for other people, then that's going to have negative societal impacts that you won't really
Also,
have.
you're sacrificing yourself. Because
Yeah,
in this hypothetical, you will be tried and convicted for murder. If you
And also your
pull the-
conscience.
if you
like,
pull the
it will
lever,
have a negative impact on
you
as
killed the
well.
man. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, that was my first instinct when I heard it. Like the first time, I just thought of
What would happen to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put it.
Shane
that
Dawson
goes back
says
to
you're
my
a
point
sociopath.
about how, like, in your instance, self-preservation is like so important.
Yeah, you do it for selfish reasons, then you
I mean,
don't.
like that's another thing. Like some people have their morality based around just themselves, and like that's their moral foundation.
I think I'd want
And
to
that
pull the lever
comes
rather
on
than
to the
kill.
other version of the trolley problem, where you replace the single person with a family member, and then you have to make the decision again.
I wouldn't do it if it was a family member. I'd kill the 5 people.
I think it is.
Yeah,
not,
but
it
that
is
says
very
a lot about
natural
your
for us to
family.
be selfish, though, in most of the things we do,
And-
and lots of our morals
Yeah.
come because of selfish reasons.
And I think the question now is, who are we to say that it's wrong? Who are we to say that being selfish is wrong?
I think
Oh,
it's a
you-
very
oh,
natural
you-
thing to be selfish.
Yeah, but if
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
if
that's
everyone
assuming that
fucked
what's
It's a
natural
survival
is good.
instinct,
Though.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's natural isn't necessarily good.
Yeah.
But it's the question.
But
I
it
mean,
is inherent.
I mean,
Sorry.
I think we keep coming back to, it seems we all disagree slightly on what the actual moral foundations would be. Like some people just think that there are inherent acts that are wrong, and some people seem to think that choice is inherently wrong. Okay, so something to think about. If we disagree on what the foundations of morality are, does that mean that there are no moral truths?